Am I the a-hole for going off on my sister for saying her bio kids are our kids? So, my older sister has 5 kids by different men. Her first child was abandoned to my mother shortly after birth. Her second child was attempted to be given to a co-worker at 9 months old. Attempted, as in the co-worker offered to babysit the kid, but was surprised when she got baby's diaper bag with birth certificate, social security card, and a note saying, "You keep the little witch, I don't want her." Social services ended up getting involved, and my mother got her as well. Next 2 children are with both of their wonderful dads, and 5th is currently with her after the dad kicked them both out. From the entire time my mom had the kids, my sister never once visited, or specifically, called about them. She'd call sharing some news, then as an afterthought she would ask about the first kid, but never the second, before she hung up the phone. My mom died a year ago and my husband and I offered to take the 2 now teenagers. My sister was all for it. She came around and talked to them for a little bit, filled their heads with stories of how she tried everything she could to be with them, and pretty much telling them that she wasn't in their lives because a series of unfortunate events. So, we have the kids now for a year, and during this time my sister has made efforts to ask about them. She has bought them gifts, and she occasionally Skyped with them. I will mention though that I allowed their relationship to grow as long as all 3 parties were okay with it. At first I would set up awkward Skype calls where they all tried to get to know each other once a week. After a couple months I told everyone that I won't be setting it up anymore, that they are free to talk to each other whenever they'd like, without feeling pressured. After that, things kind of just went cold, and the kids said they just don't feel comfortable with it. The last factor to take in consideration is this. When my husband and I were filing paperwork, my sister looked over the form, and she said she agrees to everything on the form. Us being responsible for insurance, us having physical and legal custody, except the parts where she has to pay child support. She said she was in arrears for never paying child support for her kids, and she wouldn't be able to get a driver's license if she had to owe even more. So she wouldn't sign until we agreed to not ask for child support. One thing that has been bothering me, when I text my sister, she always asks about our kids. How is our kids doing? She hasn't been there for these kids for all but the last year of their lives, and refuses to financially support them at all. And she has the nerve to call them our kids? I finally snapped and told her as much. I later got a text from my other 2 sisters saying that it wasn't called for, that my sister is their birth mother, and that she has been trying with the kids lately. Now I'm wondering if I was being an a-hole to my sister and should apologize. My sister was really upset about it. She said she was the one that gave birth to them, and I was just the aunt, and said she wanted to be nice and say they were both of our kids. Now for the top comments. Not a hole. Your sister was an egg donor for you and your parents' children. Nothing she has done has shown her to be a mother. Funny how the one who gave birth to them has never spent any time raising them. It would be odd to just tell her sister that she's not welcome in her home or around her kids. She doesn't come in my home. We live across the country from each other. And luckily, the kids don't seem to want anything to do with her. And she doesn't really ask to talk to them. She really just talks to me about them and sends them gifts. Not a hole. She's probably only making an effort now because they're teenagers, and she figures most of the work has already been done, so it's safe to connect with them now. I bet she never asked about them when they were little because she was worried someone might make her take them back. They're also getting to be of age where they can get jobs. Gotta get on their good side now so she can hit them up for money later. I'm hoping that won't happen. The kids learned a bit about my sister from my mom. When they ask me about things they want to fact check, I either say, yes, I know for a fact that is true. No, I know mom is lying, or I wasn't there for that, so I don't know for sure. The kids seem to have made up their minds already about how they feel about her without my influence, so hopefully they wouldn't feel obligated if that situation arose. Not a hole. Okay, so you snapped, but it's clear why you did. Those kids are yours because you're the one sane adult who stepped in to raise them. To heck with what your sisters and their texts are saying. They aren't the ones raising someone else's children. They can say whatever they want, but you are still the better person. Good on you for being there for those kids. Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that. After everyone turned on me, I started to really feel horrible. I felt like I had no right to be upset at my sister who is trying to get back in their lives. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my partner that my stepson spends too much time at our home and his mother needs to make more of an effort? Okay, so I've been dating this guy now for nearly 8 months. We've been living together for 2. Everything was going great and we're like best friends and have so much in common. But his 4-year-old son is now proving to be a bit of a strain on our relationship, and I feel like I can't take him anywhere. His son throws tantrums, slams doors when he doesn't get what he wants, smashing the glass on my sister's door. When we buy him things, he says, "I didn't want that," or "I don't like it." When we take him to a store, he picks up everything he sees and throws tantrums when he doesn't get them. Spits his food out when we cook for him, tells us he doesn't like us, making my 7-year-old niece cry when he says horrible things to her as well as throwing her things off of our balcony, etc. He's a nightmare. Let me just add that his dad always has to buy him new toys every time he takes him out, which I told him he shouldn't. His mother is now treating us like a daycare. And she had him for 1 day last week and having him for 2 next week, while she goes on holiday with her new boyfriend and going out with friends. My partner is now currently unemployed, and I'm the main breadwinner and struggling to support all 3 of us due to having to buy extra food and more gas and electric usage. I'm also woken up at 7 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday because my stepson wants the iPad charging or more games downloading, when weekends are supposed to be my time after working all day Monday to Friday. I don't finish until 8 p.m. I told my partner this has to stop, and my place cannot be treated like a daycare. He needs to either A, take him out weekends, or B, rotate it so we have him every other weekend. I feel like my life has been taken over as well as my apartment, as his son has his own bedroom and my things have been taken out of drawers and placed into plastic bags which I'm now living out of. My partner is struggling being away from his son, and I feel horrible for giving him ultimatums. But I feel I need to look after myself too, as I never did in my last relationship. I suffer from depression and anxiety, and I feel this whole living situation is making things worse. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I am not trying to stop my partner seeing a son. I am merely implying that the kid needs routine and equal time with both mom and dad on rotating days, in which my partner also agrees. I know they come as a package, and I'm willing to take this on, but neither parent is financially supporting this child. Everyone sucks here. Your house is not being treated like a daycare. It's being treated like the home of a child's parent, which it is. You are in a relationship with a parent. You either need to come to terms that he might wind up with his kid full-time, or you need to not be in a relationship with a parent. Little kids get up early, and if that bothers you, you should not be living with a kid and his parent. Not at all reasonable to tell the parent that his child just needs to not exist in your space. Your partner sucks for putting you in a position where you are living out of bags in your own home, for not disciplining his child, for spoiling his child, for putting the entire burden of supporting himself and his child on you. But here's the thing, he is not going to change. This is how he parents. This is how he deals with his ex. You've been dating less than a year and this guy already has you supporting him. You are feeling mental health effects. You are struggling financially. Looking after yourself is the correct choice, but the way you are doing it is not okay. The 4-year-old is a product of the parenting he is being provided. Your boyfriend is showing you what to expect. So either accept and get on board with a kid taking over your life because that's what they do, or move this guy back out and think about whether this relationship will work long term. Everyone sucks here. Based on your post history, there is a lot more going on here. You jumped right into moving in with a man you've been with for 6 months, after only recently leaving a horrible man you were with for 11 years. You have still been posting about the ex in a very real, active way since this new relationship started. You are not ready to move on. What you are doing isn't healthy for you, for your new boyfriend, and for the child. You need time alone, a therapist, and peace and quiet. Leave. This is not a healthy dynamic for anyone, and it's up to you to take the reins and fix that. Everyone sucks here. Your partner may have some good qualities, but he sounds like a pretty crappy parent, and that's unlikely to change. And the fact that he has a kid really isn't going to change. So you need to think about whether or not you can live with that. You have not been turned into a daycare. Your partner has a kid. This is the deal when you date someone with a kid. If mom dies or pieces out, you're gonna have this kid 24/7. I encourage you to have some empathy for the kid too. He is a little person with some big feelings who has been shunted around his whole life and is likely given everything he wants because the parents feel some guilt. He's doing what's been reinforced. FYI, I don't blame the child for his behavior. His behavior is down to the parents, and I believe he needs some stability in his life. I hope you realize that having him and your partner move in when you only knew him for 6 months is likely a big factor in this lack of stability. I'm going to have a word with my partner tonight. I was happy leaving it 12 months before meeting a son, but my partner couldn't wait that long. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole because I didn't want to keep giving my sister money? I'm 19 female and I recently started a new temporary job a few weeks ago that I love. I finally heard back from this field trip instructor / teaching assistant job where I help at the school and they pay me and everybody $16 per hour because of the travel and hard work. I feel like I made the mistake of answering my sister, 26 female, when she asked how much I was making. And now she's been asking me for favors or wanting to be close lately. Her boyfriend, 27 male, and her make minimum wage, which is a little above $8 per hour in our state. So since money has been an issue for them, I guess that's why she has been asking me for some in small amounts, but it piles up. Like her $20 for groceries and $15 to buy takeout is going to pile up, and I've probably given $100. It doesn't bother me that much since I still have enough for savings, but I feel like all of a sudden my sister sees me as a moneymaker. So I tried to back away or spend less, but she caught on. I don't know if they'll censor it, but she called me the C-word and a witch for turning my back on family now that I'm doing better than them. It's starting to get to me emotionally because she was never like this. And I know she's not good with money either since she gives it to her boyfriend for spending, so she doesn't have much either. Am I the a-hole really? Because I've tried to put a stop to giving her money. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. It ain't your job to subsidize her. If she needs money for takeout, she can get a second job. Or buy actual groceries, which are way cheaper. Or food pantry, community meals, food kitchens, EBT, or any other available programs. Not the a-hole. You do not owe her a penny. Takeout? Takeout is a luxury. Why would you fund her luxury items? Agreed. Not the a-hole. We are comfortable, and I still hesitate to get takeout. It's expensive, and we have groceries that were just bought. I still consider it a luxury due to its expense. Not the a-hole. She's using you for your money. She's the a-hole. What is stopping her from getting a higher paying job? She finished her university education, but she hasn't been able to get one that pays more despite applying everywhere. And it's not just me she's asking, but also other people too, like my mother, our aunt and cousin, etc. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for buying a toy that I only want my nephew to use at my house and not letting my sister-in-law take home? Yesterday morning, I, 25 female, found a Power Wheels John Deere tractor at a yard sale that didn't work, but it was only $15. And I thought it was worth getting for my nephew, 3 male, to see if my boyfriend, 27 male, could fix it. I moved in with my boyfriend last weekend, and he has a big field that I thought my nephew would love to ride it in. I bought it yesterday morning, and then yesterday evening after my boyfriend got off of work, we took his truck to the house and picked it up. They also had a little trailer that went with it that they threw in for free. My boyfriend and his friend worked on it for like an hour once we got home, and ended up getting it working by taking apart the gear shifter and cleaning the electrical connections inside it. I was pretty excited to show my nephew. Every month, I spend a day watching my nephew so that my brother, 28 male, and sister-in-law, 28 female, can relax and get stuff done. I also really enjoy spending time with him. Normally, I'll take him to the zoo or the beach or someplace like that, but he is potty training right now, and I didn't feel comfortable going anywhere. So I decided to just hang out with him at my house with my boyfriend and give him the tractor to drive around. He had a blast with the tractor. He would drive around the field, pick up sticks and rocks and put them in the trailer and then move them somewhere else. He had a huge grin the entire time, and by the time the battery went dead, he was getting pretty good at driving it. When my sister-in-law came to pick him up, he showed her his new tractor and she wanted to put it in their SUV to take home. I said that I preferred the tractor to stay at my house so that he would be excited to come over and play with it, and they don't have a very big yard to drive it in anyway. She then proceeded to say I was being an a-hole, In nicer words, for getting him a really cool present that he is only allowed to use at my house. Not day haul. There's nothing in this scenario any different than having a pool or tire swing that he'd be excited to play with, except it moves. And when he's older, he'll have fond memories of your house and the tractor. Not day haul. And the sister-in-law should be happy that Opie wants to keep toys around to entertain her nephew, instead of expecting sister-in-law to bring things with her every time to keep him occupied. Not to mention, it's pretty petty to call Opie an a-hole over that, when Opie's willing to give up time just to make sure her brother and sister-in-law can have some time away from the kid. That's not an obligation on Opie's part. That's a courtesy. Not day haul. My mother has always kept toys at her house for when she babysat grandkids, and it was understood that these toys were specifically for when the kids visited. I think your sister needs to understand that as well. Not to mention, if you have other nieces or nephews, eventually this will be something for them to play with when they come visit you. Not day haul. It's like if you let him play with an iPad. That's something he can do when he visits your house, and obviously isn't something he gets to take home because he likes it so much. If he likes it so much, the mom could go buy him one for their house, but you are definitely in your right for keeping it at your house because it's yours, and you could even keep it for when you have kids. If you want kids, of course. Did the boy know it was going to stay at your house? If so, not day haul. The members of our family who have had kids over keep toys at their house. It makes life easier. I think that's a great idea. I didn't really present it as a gift or anything to him. As far as he knows, it's just part of my boyfriend's tractor collection. He has a big tractor and riding mower, so this one looks really cute sitting next to them. This was the first time he has ever been to this house too.
Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband his job as a stay-at-home dad is only easy because I help out? Original post. I am writing this from the guest bedroom because my husband and I had a fight. So the thing is, my husband is a stay-at-home dad. 3 years ago, he wanted to quit his job and take care of the house and children, 6 female and 2 male. And I supported it because I work a decent job and earn most of the money. My husband takes pride in being a stay-at-home dad. He always brags about how it is the easiest job in this world and women are just complaining for no reason. But the truth is, I help him with the chores as much as I can. In the morning, I wake up and fix the breakfast for them, and my husband gets our daughter ready for school. I also do meal preps for lunch, and all he has to do is assemble them and cook it. I pack my and my daughter's lunch. When I am at work, he does the cleaning and spends time with our son, or does his thing. Later, when I come home, I cook the dinner and give my son a bath, help my daughter with her schoolwork, or I play with them for some time until bedtime. Besides that, whenever we do laundry, I fold the clothes that he washes and put them away. And during deep cleaning of our house, we split the task 50-50. I also handle all doctor's appointments. The system works really well, but I hate that it thinks my contribution is not enough. That he does all the chores and I do not even lift a finger. Moreover, he has a blog and TikTok where he films his days. He also makes posts about how easy it is to be a stay-at-home dad, and women just complain and full of it. That it is the easiest job in this world. I am glad he likes it, but I hate that he thinks he is superior to everyone and invalidating their experience. I grew up in a house where my dad didn't even lift a finger, and my mom did literally everything around the house. He was the fun dad doing bare minimum, so I did not want that to happen to my husband. Also, it is my house too. I believe if both people do chores, the stress becomes less. Also, I know many of my friends who struggle with doing chores as a stay-at-home mom. I also know women who work and still do majority of the chores. And his comments makes me irritated. So yesterday, my friend Ashley came to visit. She's a mother of 2. Her son probably has ADHD and very much active. She has trouble handling her son and gets no help from her husband. Her son breaks a cup in our house. Ashley was saying sorry. My husband cleaned it up and she was complaining how exhausted she is. My husband scoffed and told her, "You must be doing the parent thing wrong because I am a stay-at-home parent too, but I never had problem. My wife barely does anything around the house and it is so easy. Maybe I should give you a lesson or two." I can see Ashley was upset and I understand why. Later that day, I told him what he said to Ashley was very rude, and my husband acted as if he said nothing wrong and was honest. I pointed that he doesn't do all the chores. I help him with at least 40%. That's why he thinks it's easy. He again argued that those chores are not significant compared to what he does. I told him he is being mean to everyone, that we got lucky that our kids are easy and not active. Most of the kids are hard to handle. He again scoffed and said, "How hard can it be?" We argued about this, and he told me I am being ungrateful because no man would ever sacrifice like he did. Now I am upset and gave him some space. Was I wrong to point it out? Edit. Just want to point out, I have no issues with him being a stay-at-home dad. I just don't like his attitude towards it, and the way he thinks it is the easiest job in this world. Because to me and most of the people, it is still a job that has no vacation days. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Welcome to reality. It rarely matters how much the person who works outside the home does at home. It's never enough. Husbands complain that they work 50 hours a week, do all the hard work, all the home maintenance, all the auto maintenance, and help out a little in the house. And they get eviscerated if they don't pitch in 50-50 on housework and give the stay-at-home parent time off at night and on the weekends. We ran the actual numbers with my partner who was stay-at-home. Turned out, I was putting in 30 more hours per week of work outside and inside a home. Try documenting both of your workloads fairly and see what the work equity comes out to be. It may not work out with cleaning or cooking. Look at everything. If your husband is in a deficit, let him know. My husband gets rest after I come home. I know he works all day and deserves a break. It gets exhausting if you are pulling all the emotional chores. I do not want to be one of those people who complain about not wanting to do housework because they're too tired. Also, spending time with my kids is not a chore. It is more of a bonding experience. My concern is his sacrificing. What exactly does that mean? Weren't they choices? So he has sacrificed what? There seems to be some underlying issues for him around his role and the need to feel superior in this role. I'm one for therapy because it could be helpful for him and you in fleshing out the issues with going against cultural gender roles. Shame is a sinister emotion that sometimes masks itself. It was 100% his choice to quit his job and be a stay-at-home dad. In fact, he gets way more praises as a house husband than I did as a housewife. And being a stay-at-home dad has improved his mood. His job was very soul-sucking, so I supported his decision. Not the a-hole. He sounds exhausting and unaware of how self-centered he is. Parenting isn't a competition between him and you. It's a team sport where you both have to participate. Sounds like you are doing more in context, in the home and outside home. Love seeing a stay-at-home dad, but he needs a swift kick in the butt for being full of himself, not valuing your contributions and his misogynistic comments. Stop doing what you're doing and let him truly be a stay-at-home dad, not the a-hole. Yep, see how long he lasts when you stop doing all the stuff is deemed insignificant. If it truly is, then he can't complain about a tiny little increase in workload and you get that time/labor back for you. Yeah, from what Opie described, it just sounds like he's unemployed and not a stay-at-home dad. Now for the update. Okay, I took everyone's advice and stopped working my part of the chores. I did tell him beforehand, since he thinks my contribution to the housework is nothing, that I will stop doing everything altogether. I told him since he thinks being a stay-at-home dad is easy, then he should have a full experience of it. My friend's husband doesn't even lift a finger around the house. So I wouldn't too. He was obviously upset. He wanted to argue I cannot do this to him. He even tried to pull the incompetence card. I told him I am not going to do my portion of the job at home. I also gave the typical excuse of, I work all day at my office so that we can survive on one income. It is selfish for him to expect me to do housework. And that's what I did. I didn't do any housework. I didn't wake up in the morning and made breakfast. My husband had to do it. It wasn't hard for him, but I can see he was moody. I asked him to prepare my lunch because that is also my job. He refused at first, but then I told him he said he will do all the household chores too. That includes my lunch as well. He only packed me a peanut butter jelly sandwich. I didn't do meal prep for lunch either. It was his to figure out. At night when I came home, I didn't make dinner and asked him to do it. He was shocked, but did it anyways. I didn't give my son a bath. He is fuzzy, which ticked my husband off. I only helped my daughter with her homework and I didn't help him with the laundry. The first few days didn't say a word, but after a week, it was showing that he is getting exhausted. He was getting more and more angry at small stuff, and usually cleaning would cool him off. But whenever he sees a mess, he throws a tantrum. In the weekends, I went to my mother's house to relax. That weekend, we were supposed to clean our bathrooms, but he did that all by himself. As the days progressed, I can see him being really angry at me. Even I admit, it has affected our intimacy a lot. At last, after 2 weeks, he told me, basically yelled, that I proved my point. Things are back to normal, but I can see he is very distant with me. Last night I asked him to talk to me. He said he knew what game I was playing, but he did not appreciate me treating him like garbage and not considering his feelings. I told him it was his words that being a stay-at-home dad is easy. I just gave him the full experience of it. He kept saying that I should have been more supportive. All these weeks, he felt like a nobody and so underappreciated. He felt invisible. He started to hate me for not caring and dumping everything on him. He is still not talking to me, and we have booked a couples therapy session next week. Let's see if our relationship sustains or not. I think it goes without saying, but not the a-hole. Not gonna lie, he sounds pretty toxic. Even when he has his come to Jesus moment, he's not actually recognizing that what he's feeling is exactly the thing he was demeaning others for. He thought it was easy, learned it's not, and instead of recognizing it, he pushes everything off on you. I really hope your counseling works, Opie, because he really needs it. Yeah, he's lashing out at her because he doesn't want to face how shameful his own behavior was. Everything was hunky-dory when he was discounting the work that Opie was doing and the amount most stay-at-home parents do. Let's not forget he has consistently shown he is more than happy to discount the work the women around him do. First it was the stay-at-home friends, and then Opie's efforts at home. You're telling me that a stay-at-home parent that does everything around a house while the other parent does nothing but work feels exhausted and unappreciated? What? How could he have possibly known that? Except for the barrage of women who told him they felt this way for years. But that doesn't count. After all, being a stay-at-home parent is easy, right? They were just being dramatic. Aw, he feels unappreciated and invisible? That's how women feel every day. He messed around and found out, and I was pissing like a child. Not the a-hole, but why are you with a loser? He literally can't do anything on his own, and you hurt his man ego. Like, what does he bring to the table? And don't give me the BS of love, he is a great parent, etc. He is a crappy partner who has a fragile ego and doesn't contribute 50% of the household. Literally evaluate life, because you literally have the short end of the stick with this relationship. I won't call him a loser. If you are a stay-at-home mom and have your husband help you out, would you still call yourself a loser? I agree he acted poorly, but I know my husband. I'm sure there is some deep-seated problem I don't know about. Info. Is alimony a thing where you're from? We live in a no-fault state. That has nothing to do with whether or not alimony gets awarded. You'd best check that out. We don't have a prenup. He has been out of work for 3 years. Maybe I do have to pay him alimony, but I'm not sure. Is there any option where even if he gets alimony, he has to find a job within a certain amount of time, otherwise his spousal support will be revoked? As he is the stay-at-home parent, he will likely get primary custody as it is seen as better for the kids consistency-wise. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I'd be telling the court about a sleepy driving incident if he files for divorce? My 44 female husband, 47 male, has basically declared war on me. We have 3 kids, 10 male, 7 female, and 3 female. Our son is a talented tennis player. My husband and I are both college athletes, and he almost went professional for baseball. And I used to mentor girls who ended up becoming NFL cheerleaders. My parents never had the money or dedication to support me pursuing what I loved. I made the best of it, but wanted it to be different for my son. So he gets intensive pre-professional training. Because of that, and the fact that we were building our own dream house, my husband worked a night shift job, a first shift job, and also worked as 4 to 6 hour shifts as event staff during weekends. Meanwhile, I had a receptionist job that was 32 hours a week. My son's tennis sucks up the entire income from my husband's night shift job plus my income. The rest of the money was needed to build and maintain our dream house. I thought the contractors had bad insights, so we acted as our own general contractor. We had a construction loan, but on top of that, we had to pour our money into it because things went wrong. Friends told us our only way out was to build something unique enough we could just sell it for high and make some money from it. At that point, we started arguing. Apparently, HelloFresh, which advertises affordability, isn't affordable. Argued about leasing a Jeep versus Toyota. Then came the instance where my husband was driving home from his day shift. He was feeling tired, yet he decided to start the car. He drove for a while, apparently knew he was tired, and then pulled into the runabout area of an apartment complex. He dozed off before putting the car in park and ended up hitting the apartment's garage door. He was fined by the apartment, plus a citation for reckless driving, and the fight started after he walked in the door. I said that they've charged people with felonies for that. He could have lost his career. He starts screaming he has woken up and thinks he worked so hard all for me. He called me a narcissist and said he thinks I get him to do all this because I feel inferior, and to have somebody do all this gives me an extra kick. He then said we needed a trial period apart. We got into an argument yesterday after he said he's thinking of quitting his night shift job and filing for divorce. He insulted our house, saying it looked like 5 people from different eras built parts of it and smashed it together. I replied by saying he's not going to get custody when I tell the judge about him being a reckless driver, and maybe he'd even be denied visitation. He screamed and said even child abusers get visitation, and I replied that a court official wouldn't have to be in a car with them. My husband got calm and said that was the last straw. From now on, I'm no longer important to him. Am I the a-hole for saying things in anger when he's been blaming me? He's the one who decided to get in the car and possibly run over everybody. Why would you hurt your kids like that by denying them access to their father? Why would you even threaten that? You threatened to weaponize the court and his children against him. You're the a-hole. That's terrifying. He fell asleep in his car. A serious medical issue should be ruled out. No one can work 60+ hours consistently over an extended period of time without incident like this, and managing or coordinating the construction would absolutely count as work. And for what exactly is he overextending himself for? A wife who threatens to weaponize their children? A house? And a pipe dream you'll have an Olympian in the family? The chances of your kid becoming or wanting to become an Olympian or a sports star are slim. I had a colleague whose daughter was sent to a special gymnastics school. They stretched themselves financially to put her in that school with coaches who had trained other prospective Olympians. Their daughter turned 16 and didn't want to do it anymore. She wanted to be just a regular kid. Don't overextend yourself financially to promote a pipe dream, unless you can swallow that whole loss with a smile when it likely comes. Sure sounds like your husband has overextended himself, and you all need to think about what's really important in your lives. A kid that I was supposed to graduate with in high school was a really good wrestler, but he couldn't beat this one guy in his weight class. Kid's dad held him back a year so his son could dominate at wrestling. When a kid was a junior, he quit wrestling. Any athlete is one injury away from not having a career. Delusional to destroy the entire family based on this pipe dream. You're the a-hole, and you're the one that declared war. Your husband is exhausted trying to support your ridiculous dreams. Your son is probably not going to be a wealthy pro tennis player. He's probably going to resent the pressure you're putting on him. This dream house is ridiculously impractical, and with your firing your general contractor, your husband's assessment of the house is probably accurate. You're trying to live completely outside your means, and your husband has been killing himself to try and support this. And your response is to use it as a weapon against him. Again, Major, you're the a-hole. I want to say outside of reality. She's a receptionist and wants to live like she's earning a 6-figure income and expects the man to make up for her own desires. Also, she's pushing that onto her kids by trying to make one into a pro when they're 10. All it'll do is cause resentment and a hate of the sport. Please note her blaming her parents for not trying hard enough to help her go pro to help my point. After she points out the money, she feels it's okay to use her husband as a workhorse.
Parents told my brother that he could take my house and I could just live in a camper in the backyard because I'm single and he has a wife and kids. Part 1. I'm a single man in my early 30s. I've got a brother who's 29 and he's already got 4 kids now. He had his first at 22, and the second followed a year later. Then the third 2 years after that, and the fourth is most recently born a couple months ago. His wife, my sister-in-law, and I did not get along, as she always likes to try and get a rise out of me by acting superior, then turns into an extreme self-victimizing drama queen if I retaliated against her in any way.
She can cry in an instant and can put on an extremely convincing show to get sympathy from just about anyone. My parents and brother absolutely adore her though, even if they know exactly how she really is and just don't care. She's very good looking, I'll give her that, but she's so awful that I could never be attracted to her. She also refuses to get any sort of job, even though she has a college degree, and my mother willingly helps with the kids all day. So, their finances are entirely dependent on my brother. This also means they can't afford to live anywhere but my parents' house, and privacy is a bit of an issue, with all of them under one roof in a 3-bedroom house that was built in the 60s. Growing up, my younger brother was also the obvious favorite. We're 3 years apart in age, but he developed a superiority complex because I was badly punished if I retaliated against his antics in any way back then. It was obvious my parents cared for him a lot more, because he got the lion's share of everything, unless people called them out on it. Which did happen a fair bit by other members of family, which is why my parents packed us all up and moved us about 150 miles away from them, so they generally would only see us on holidays since it was a 3-hour drive. My brother got physical towards me on a number of occasions, flirted relentlessly with my first girlfriend to the point she broke up with me, and laughed at any misfortune I had, and my parents just told me to suck it up whenever I was upset about it. I only got equal treatment when my parents wanted to keep up appearances. I admit it was rather funny to see the looks on their faces whenever they had to treat me equal to my brother on birthdays and Christmas because other people were present. We had relatives that were very nosy and loved gossiping drama. So my parents did their best to hide what was really going on and threatened to take all my stuff away if I didn't keep my mouth shut. If anything, it just made my parents celebrate more when I turned 18 and moved out, because it meant they no longer had to provide for me. I wasn't even done with high school yet when I moved out, but couch surfing was far better than living with them. I was low contact ever since leaving home. They didn't even show up for my high school graduation, but I really didn't care. From that point on, I would usually only see my parents and brother on holidays like the rest of the family. The start of 2020 pandemic was not kind to me. I lost my job and couldn't renew the lease on the condo because my roommate also lost his job, and neither of us could afford to place on unemployment money. It was a rented 2-bedroom condo that I really loved. As the lease was ending, my roommates left early to move back in with relatives, and I had to sell nearly all of my stuff because I was soon going to be homeless if I didn't downsize to an extreme. I really shouldn't have rented a place that was so expensive, but I liked living the high life. Until that, life wasn't kind to me, and I realized I should have been living somewhere far cheaper so I could have saved more money to fall back on. But I had a plan. I own a truck simply for the fact that I've always loved trucks. So, I found a $1,000 camper in good shape and put it on my truck just so I could live out of it for a while. It was supposed to be temporary, but I ended up living out of it far longer than I ever thought. I originally was hoping to be able to live out of the camper at my parents' house, where my brother and his family still reside as well. But when I asked my parents to let me stay for a while, they told me they had a full house and didn't want me there. Plus, we hadn't exactly gotten along in the past decade. They said they'd only agree to let me park my camper there if I paid them basically what it would cost to rent an apartment in my area. That was way too much just to park my camper. I was jobless and tried to save as much of my unemployment money as I could till I could find a new job. I may as well be living in an apartment with that rent price they were asking. My parents called my camper an eyesore and told me to take a hike since we couldn't come to an agreement. And sister-in-law thought it was absolutely hilarious I had to live in a camper. My brother joined her in pointing at and mocking me while calling me a homeless bum. So, I parked my truck/camper in the store parking lot to sleep on the first night that I had nowhere else to go. I felt scared out of my mind that someone might try to break in. Suffice to say, I didn't sleep well that night. There was nowhere else I could go, as any other relatives that owned houses were fairly far away and all my friends were all apartment people. And I was pretty attached to my area as well, so I didn't want to just leave. I'd also had my mail forwarded to a friend's apartment. It was the only way I could still get my mail anymore. Finding a stable place to park was pretty difficult. I went looking around to try and find a job similar to my old one. It took months of living the nomadic camper life. In that time, I had to deal with a lot. Everything from beggars and drug addicts to people demanding I leave because my camper was an eyesore. At one point, someone that told me to move claimed to be with an HOA. I wasn't even parked on a street with houses. And when I questioned, what HOA? They got incredibly belligerent and threatened me. So I moved my camper anyway just to avoid a trouble.
In order to have a steady supply of electricity, I learned to use a long extension cord to plug in anywhere I could to recharge my camper batteries. This meant sneaking around and plugging it into an outside outlet of a random building while parked on a street. I know that's a crummy thing to do, but I had to keep my batteries charged so my refrigerator would stay cold. I had a small solar power bank for recharging my phone, but I didn't have anything like a generator. And generators are noisy and required fuel anyway, so I did what I had to do. After months of living like that, I finally managed to get a new job. I had to move to the neighboring city to find a job that didn't involve retail. I worked retail while in college and promised myself never again, though I was nearly ready to break that promise. I was still getting unemployment money, but I had no stable place to live while receiving it. And I didn't want to still be jobless when it ran out. Plus, I was bored out of my mind. I had little else to do but read, watch movies on a small portable DVD player, use my phone or laptop, and keep note of where I could park and what local public bathrooms I could use. I kind of envy that the Japanese have public bathhouses. We could really use stuff like that over here. When I finally landed a new job, I practically lived in the back lots of the building by the warehouse and old employee parking spaces literally no one else seemed to bother using, because they were so far in the back that the area was borderline forgotten. My boss/company owner actually liked this arrangement because I was willingly available to take any shift I could get, so long as I had enough sleep. He even let me take the camper off my truck and set it up in one of the spaces so I could drive around without it. Not exactly sure if this was legal, but no one bothered us about it. The entire time I lived back there, I didn't have to deal with many trespassers. There were a few, but the security guards escorted them out. I was pretty much on call almost all the time when they needed me, and was working virtually every day of the week. My boss let me plug my camper into the building for power and water, and I paid a small amount of rent by working for free on Sundays, when no one else was in the office but the janitor and security guard. Beyond that, I usually had to shower at a friend's apartment or at my local gym as the camper didn't have a shower in it, but only a portable toilet. And I didn't want to fill it because emptying it is a nasty chore. So I used other bathrooms as often as I could. I had a key to the warehouse and could go in to use the bathroom there at any hour. I was even on a first-name basis with the night security guard, who's since become one of my closest friends. The camper was easy to heat in the winter with a small electric heater. Summers were not fun though. The camper didn't have AC, so I had to get a used portable air conditioner just to make it bearable. I made a lot of overtime pay, and hands-on learned some new skills from other employees. Eventually, midway into this year, I landed a better position in the company as a supervisor, and started making a better salary than my old job. That's when I decided I wanted a house. The scare I'd gotten from losing my condo made me realize I needed something much more stable for the long term. I looked around for something close to my work, and just 2 miles away found a 3-bedroom manufactured home in a small property. But I managed to get it for $10,000 less than the asking price somehow. I used nearly my entire savings for a down payment and got approved for a home loan. I finally didn't have to live in a camper anymore. There was enough space for me to back my truck in behind the house, to take the camper off to set it up in the backyard. So, I put it there as its own little building just in case I want to use it again. When I was fully settled in the house, I was dumb enough to brag about it on my book of faces. My family saw the post, and that's where this crap really starts. After a few weeks, my parents and brother along with his family came to visit completely unannounced to have a tour of my home. I didn't even give them my address. So how they found out where I live, I still don't know. None of my friends have fessed up, and no prior family members visited me before that. So I wonder if they stalked me at work and followed me home or something. It really wouldn't surprise me. Once I opened the door, they practically all shoved their way in like rambunctious tourists. Then just started making themselves at home. They all kept poking around, and sister-in-law had this creepy smirk that she was repeatedly flashing me. And it was only later that I figured out why. And it made me madder than a bull on steroids that just got stung by a hornet. My parents were constantly talking about how I've got so much extra space now, and it's too much for someone like me who has no wife or kids. Sure, not now, but maybe someday. And my brother kept remarking about how there was more space than our parents' house, that my house was closer to his job too. Red flags all around, I know. Eventually, my brother asked me to speak privately. Everyone else suddenly left the room and piled out onto the front porch. That's what finally made me realize they'd planned something. My brother, who we'll call Dan, Said the house was too much for me alone, that I should let him move in with his family because his wife is pregnant with kid number 4. And my house is much closer to his job. He pointed out that I already have the camper, so I could just live in that outside while they live in the main house. And I'd like to point out that Dan never once spoke of offering rent. Mind you, he's got a good job. He also started talking about how there would be changes and even curfews, and that I couldn't just walk in at any time without prior notice. If it weren't my brother, I think the person I was talking to had lost their mind. But Dan lost his marbles long ago thanks to our parents treating him like he was the center of the world. I tried to speak, but he kept talking over me as if I had no say in the matter. There was no way in hell I'd rent my house nor parts of my house to him. Other people maybe, just so I can pay the mortgage off more easily. But certainly not him, nor his nasty wife. I've heard of this exact kind of situation in videos online many times, and never once did I think I'd actually live it because I thought it so ludicrous. But my parents, brother and sister-in-law do all fit the bill for a bunch of narcissistic entitled crazies. So, I picked up my phone and set it to start recording, then just held onto it. Dan didn't even seem to care or notice that I'd done this, and just sat there with his arms waving around while talking about all the reasons of why he needed my house. Then went from saying that to acting like it was a done deal and trying to reach out his hand to shake mine. That's when I finally showed my backbone and said, "Hell no." And I said it loud enough that Dan stumbled backward for a second. I'd rarely ever raised my voice to him on that level because I was punished by our parents whenever I did. But this was my house, not theirs. My spine can be as shiny as it wants here. I stood up and then told him that my house was not up for grabs. And acting like I let him move in just because they want it won't make it happen. I bought my house for me. It is not my fault he keeps having more kids, and he has to keep living with our parents because he can't afford to move out. Dan got as physically close to me as he could without actually touching me and said that I didn't deserve the house, and he needed a better place for his family to live. I laughed back in his face and said that was total BS, because I worked hard to be able to buy my house. Of course I deserved it. Dan started yelling that I have no wife or kids and I don't need all the space, so I may as well give it to him. I said I'm not giving him anything, and he never even offered to pay me rent. If I let him move in, I'd still be covering the entire mortgage on my own house without even being able to live in my own house. Then Dan told me that he shouldn't have to pay rent because his family comes first, and our parents said I was going to do this and that I will. I yelled as if their word was law or something, then told Dan that they did not have the right nor power to give my house to him. Then right on cue, my parents and sister-in-law barged back in through the front door and surrounded me to try and force me to agree. There was a lot of fighting, but to sum it up from this point on, I heard a line, "Just do it for Dan," way more times than I can remember. In the fight, I told them all they don't have a say in my life or my house and to get out before I called the cops. Sister-in-law screamed the loudest at me about how she was pregnant again and I can't do this to her. I said I did nothing to her. She just assumed she could take and take from me, like I would just allow it. I had no obligation to her or her family. Then, I called her a stuck-up witch who never had any respect for me. So I don't care what she thinks or how many kids she has. I have no sympathy for her. She won't be living in my house. Well, that made her angry enough to attack me. She got in one good hit on my face and tried to do more, but my brother held her back, kicking and screaming. She kept demanding he let her go so she could scratch my eyes out. The phone I was holding recorded pretty much everything. So I held it up and said I was going to call the police if they didn't leave right away. My parents told Dan they were leaving. Then my mother said that I had a week to come to my senses. I told her I won't be, and to not come back. Then I told sister-in-law that my phone recorded everything, and if she tries anything, I'll press charges for assault. She screamed at me and then stormed out, loudly crying with her face in her hands. My mother was the last one out the door and said that I better do this for Dad and sister-in-law. I responded by telling her I won't be. Now for the comments. I would get an order of protection against the sister-in-law. I would also invest in security cameras and upgrade the locks. Maybe even invest in a big dog to act as guard dog for the property. That way, when they return, you have proof of trespassing. File a police report anyway. Let the cops deal with her. Do not get a guard dog. With people as unstable as Opie's family, they're just as likely to kill the dog by feeding it poisoned meat or shoot it and claim self-defense for a poor pregnant woman. Okay, homie, I read it all and goddamn. Here's my 2 cents. 1. Go no contact with the lunatics. no matter what. 2. Do them solid and send that recording to the rest of your family. That way, you can go to the extended family holidays without having those crazies around. 3. Don't be sad about it. It ain't your fault that your brother can't finish in your sister-in-law when he has a big enough space. And definitely not your fault because she refuses to work when your parents already babysit the kids. 4. Keep your insanely strong mental going. You have a winner's attitude, and you continue to win in life no matter what it throws at you. 5. If they ever do this again, police. You already have evidence, so just go for it. You can also consider having cameras around your property just for the property's safety. 6. Get yourself a family of your own. You deserve it. And once that's settled, send some mails asking your parents when will they move in the trailer to make room for your kids. And also let them know the rent they must pay to use your trailer. 7. If sister-in-law tries that again and you catch a second attack on camera, CPS may want to look at how stable she is to be allowed to raise kids. Tell your boss too, so that if they turn up at your job trying to cause trouble, he's already aware of what's going on. Getting a lawyer to send a cease and desist might scare them off for a bit too.